Hey everyone, Kelly from Auditor Training Online here to remind you that the ISO world is far from boring. Get ready for episode 9 of the Lead the Standard podcast, where Jackie and I share 5 essential steps to make your ISO management system effective and, more importantly, simple. As always, there are going to be a few tangents, real world stories, and I apologize in advance. Jackie has brought along the cheesy analogies, but I promise we'll get to the point. So stay with us and discover how you too can create a dynamic, adaptable, and continually improving management system. Today, episode 9 of Lead the Standard. Today we are taking a back to basics look at ISO Made Easy. Simple steps for ISO management system based on edition 55 of Lead the Standard, which is available for everyone on LinkedIn. So as always, I'm excited to have Jackie here to guide us through her approach to simplifying ISO management, covering strategies like gap analysis, leveraging existing resources involving your team, agile workspaces, maintaining a decent mindset. But I'm actually going to mix things up a little bit. Normally, I would share with you the question of the week, but I'm going to hand straight over to Jackie today to share the inspiration for today's episode. So, Jackie,
Thank you.
Take it away.
Thank you. With episode or edition 55 of Lead the Standard, the newsletter, I didn't actually share, an email from a student. I sort of shared a story, I guess. So, and as Kelly said, that was the inspiration to the topic, I guess. So let me cover that. And of course, maybe Kelly at the end, just like I do when you read it out, you might have some light bulb moments as you go. So I'll stop once I finish sharing and you can break it down with me before we move on. Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as I said, in the edition 55 Lead the Standard newsletter, I said that I have worked with many ISO professionals implementing ISO management systems, whether it be for quality, safety, or environment. And I have to say that most of them make it harder than it needs to be, honestly. They often say, oh, but we just want the system to be simple. Yeah, what they create is anything but simple. They think that including everything in, say, one document, for example, one huge document, they're actually making it straightforward. But that approach is far from effective. And management, this is going to sound corny. I'm sorry when I say this. So bear with me. I know Kelly's normally the corny one, like with the dad jokes and stuff. But this time it's my turn. So what I said was a management system is like a living, breathing improvement machine. You need to build it to give it life, allowing it to grow and improve continually. So now this is a corny thing. Imagine it.
This is the corny thing.
Now, I know that was just leading into the corny thing.
Okay.
Imagine your system as a wild animal. See, that's corny. You can't cage a wild animal, and the key thing, and expect it to thrive. A caged animal will either wither away or it will break free at some point, causing chaos. So can you see that with a management system? That's that.
I actually love that.
Yeah, that alignment.
The first part was corny. The second part was actually the second part actually made sense. Yeah. Sorry, I sounded surprised.
Yeah, that's what happens, isn't it? So if you cage an animal, they'll either wither away and they just won't do anything, or when they do get out, it's crazy. So similarly, if you try to confine or cage your management system within a rigid, overly complex structure, it will fail to function effectively. So instead, think of your management system as needing space to roam, explore, and evolve. Give it space. It requires flexibility and freedom to adapt to the different changes as well as new challenges, because it's never going to be perfect. Things always change. And by doing this, you nurture a robust, solid, mature, as well as a dynamic, so it can change, agile. I like using that word, an agile system that genuinely, that's a key word, it's genuine, it genuinely supports your business goals and continual improvement within that management system.
There's a lot to unpack in that, and I'm geeking out. I'll kill that word. We have a new team member this week, Matt, and I can't tell you how many times he said that to me, and it makes me smile. And yeah, I'm having that moment today. There's a lot in there that analogy, as corny as you think it might be, is actually relevant. And again, things are ticking through my head about things we've done in the last 7 months, things that we've got planned to do. We know there's things that are coming up that are going to require that flexibility, that freedom, that agility. Yeah.
And what happens though if we're not open to that and we just go, no, this is it, and we cage it? What would happen?
Well, we've talked about this a couple of episodes ago as well, when we were talking about particularly HubSpot and us getting into that process. There's what you're doing now, but you need to be prepared for that growth, and knowing that, okay, this is right for now, but can we prepare ahead? Who has a management system in a business that they don't want to grow? If you don't want your business to grow, don't have a management system. There's lots going on. I've seen our talking points. I'm trying to restrain myself a little bit.
Okay,
today.
restrain, because I'm sure we'll touch on it. But it's actually a good segue, what you were saying about growth, because with growth is change, and that's why I mentioned that you have to be open to change. And first off, this is a big realization. You need to realize that what you think might work in theory, it won't, and it's okay. It's okay, but the only way to see whether it works is to give it a go and then tweak it from there, which is, I think, where you were going. That's why in the newsletter I included the quote from Albert Einstein in that original article, and I actually said, take this away with you. I didn't say that. The quote from Albert Einstein is, the measure of intelligence is the ability to change.
He's a smart man, that Einstein.
He must have been pretty cluey.
I reckon.
Yeah. And when I saw that quote, it really sort of resonated with, or it aligned with this topic, because I think this is the key thing. And while I have got a few different steps to go through, the last one is about change and being open to that. So it's really, really relevant. So did you want me to get to my short answer?
I think we should jump straight into your short answer.
Okay, let's do it then.
So can we have that question again? That's not a question.
The question was around, what was the question around?
There you go. It wasn't a question.
It wasn't a question. It was more about, I just want my system to be easy. And then because they want their system to be easy, they restrict it too much, and they try and control it, because they think by having that control, it's going to make it easy, when in actual fact, it's the opposite. And that's why I use that analogy of the caged animal. So is that a good recap?
I think that's a good recap, yeah.
Okay. So I'm glad I remembered as well. So my thoughts on managing that, more formal approach, making ISO life easy, because you could go ISO easy, ISO happy, ISO funny.
If you say so.
I reckon that we could use that for marketing. All
there
these
we go.
ISO happy, ISO funny, ISO.
Okay.
I don't know.
Let's
I've
get
run
to our
out of-
short answer. This is no longer a
Okay.
short answer, Jackie.
Okay. I'll get on with it. So I just thought of it when I saw ISO Life Easy. There's 5 steps. There's 1, the gap analysis. 2, use what you already have. 3, get people involved, but don't force it. That's a completely different topic. I actually think I've written that one. It's coming up. Use agile tools. So you'll be really good at sharing that, Kelly. And most importantly, don't get hung up on being right.
Yeah.
So change it if it doesn't work. So there's 5 different areas there, and I'll break that down. Yeah. Just a bit of a segue. You can't hear the background noise here, can you? Yeah.
I can now.
Yeah.
That's right. Please forgive Jackie. She is improving. She's continually improving.
My office is being painted, and I'm at the dining room table. So I'm at I'm exposed to the elements, and someone just came to the front door downstairs. But I think it's under control now, isn't it?
I think so. I think
so.
Yeah.
That's Ruby. She's got a very big voice.
I think it was
okay.
Let's continue.
Okay. I can stay with it now. Okay. So let's break those 5 down. Okay. So I feel, Kelly, like this conducting a gap analysis comes up a lot.
Funny that.
Yeah, it seems to be key to a lot of things, doesn't it? Not only for a system, but also, for your own growth as well and understanding it. I don't know if I'm imagining it. I don't have the data. It's just a feeling. But I feel like in any of these steps that we share, there's always something about a gap analysis there somewhere. But, we actually have a great resource on the website,
we do.
which is a fantastic tool that Kelly put together and made very clever that you can download. So I don't know if that's able to be shared.
Ticker banner. Jump on our website.
Yes, it's on the ticker banner at the moment. At this very moment as we're recording, but in the future it may not be, but you just go to the resources tab.
That's correct.
And I think it's called the IMS gap analysis.
Correct. But you can adapt it and use it for what you need. It's flexible. Absolutely. It's agile. It's free.
Absolutely. I've used it just for quality for 9001. It's a great tool. So I started off with this gap analysis because it feeds into the second step, which is use what you already have. This is something that I see quite often, is that businesses think that they have to recreate everything all over again instead of understanding what they already have and seeing how it meets the requirements of whatever ISO standard that they're building their system to. Like I always say, if they're in business and they've been in business for, 5 years plus, they're bound to have something already. Whatever they're doing will already be either conforming with the requirements or it's, a long way to meeting it, and you might just need to tweak it a bit and add a little bit. You don't need to add more. Sorry?
Maybe formalize it a little. It might be conversation that you regularly have. Maybe minute that conversation. Little things. No.
Yeah, and that is actually a common one, Kelly, is, when, well, we do meet, every Monday and we discuss what we're doing for the week or any customer feedback, but they don't actually record what was discussed or what any actions were out of it. So that is very common. But the point is they're doing it at an operational level. So if there is a requirement, if it fits into any of the requirements and the requirement is to retain some evidence, well, then it's simply, as you said, formalize it. Yeah. So conducting that gap analysis will help you to understand, and this leads to the second one, what you already have. Okay. So by understanding what you already have in your system, You're using your existing processes, existing tools, existing resources. So human resources, software, hardware, it could even go your equipment, what you do with that, how you manage that. It's already there. So use it. So it gives you that foundation to build on. So
Important.
it's
Foundation.
not so scary. Pardon?
Yeah. That's the key word there, foundation.
Yeah. And actually, I just thought of that then. I know I included it in the newsletter, but I think that is a key word, foundation, isn't it? You're not starting from scratch.
No.
It doesn't have to be this big, scary thing. What do you already do? And I often say that when they're like trying to establish, say, their objectives, whether it's quality, environment, OH&S, could be any other ISO standard. It's, well, what are you already doing? What KPIs, what targets, even if it's not written down, I'm pretty sure most businesses have some ideas, if we have a customer inquiry, really we should be getting to them that day. Oh, well, sorry, that's an objective, isn't it? That's a target. So let's just, as you said, let's just formalize it. You're already doing it. Don't make other fluffy stuff up. And that's what I see. It's like all of this fluffy stuff because they think that they need this fluffy stuff that means nothing and they can't measure it.
Yeah. And that also is really important. It does need to be measurable because it's very difficult to audit or track something if you don't have those goals, targets, measurements, etc.
Exactly.
Demonstrating the how, what, why.
Exactly.
It's nice to have fields, but they're great for marketing.
Well, that's actually a good point. That's actually a good point. That feeling stuff, whatever you're feeling is great to go, okay, yeah, that's marketing. If I'm feeling it, other people might be feeling it. But, back in a structured world, it's what have you already got?
But sorry, just to go back to that feeling, we just said don't be feelings. But if you're feeling
feeling.
Oh, stop it. But if you're feeling overwhelmed or you're feeling, oh, this is cheesy, then it's probably cheesy and it's probably overcomplicated. So in those instances, yes, trust your gut and pull back. But I think there is that little area there for your feels. But I just want to use an example that I've seen popping up a lot over the last few months. And again, we have a new team and they are a very curious team and I love it. But we also have a very process-driven team. We have a very goal-orientated team. So all of this is really important to us. And we're still learning everybody's strengths, weaknesses. Not that our team has much because they're just all wonderful. But one of the questions that I've seen coming up a lot is, or statements, and I've actually seen it from all of our team over the last 7 months is, oh, I've created a Google sheet for this, or I've got an Excel spreadsheet, or I've got a Word doc for this. Where can I communicate this? We have the systems and the processes in which those communications already happen. The gap that I've found is, well, have we trained these people properly well enough on the abilities and the functionality and the intent of these platforms and programs? There's the gap there. If this person's away, how do we know where to find that? How do we action that? So again, sharing with your team, yes, we've got this new system, but it's actually using all of the things that we already did, using all of the processes that we already have, but again, making sure that they all connect with each other rather than stand alone and independent from each other.
Inputs and outputs.
Yeah. And just, I think that's said it's a lost the word, need another sip of coffee. It's a common issue across businesses. So again, remember, it's not about the person. There's something higher or further around somewhere that's saying to you, okay, there's a gap here. That's another word that we haven't said at all today. Conduct that mini gap analysis in your head. Why is this question being asked?
Yeah.
Sorry,
And it's actually it's a really good point you make, because it's not the person, and when it's the system. And when you mentioned, I've created this Google sheet or this Word document and it's sort of outside of the existing system, that made me think that comes back to the system. And how what word, easy, how you've also found that different people work in different ways, and
funny that
I'm sort of doing that segue to the third topic, which is getting people involved. And I know that you've found that even though we do have certain ways of doing things and our procedures are documented and we have project plans and tasks, sometimes, for example, you and I do things quite similarly, but then when Melissa came along, she had a different view, and she could even make it more simple. Is that right English? More simple? Simpler.
Simples.
Streamlined. Yeah. And I know when you've been working with Hazel, she works in a certain way. So I think if you want to share that, and that goes in line with getting people involved. So, it's not just about the structure and the documents and the procedures. It's, you need to involve the people and the different ways in which they follow instructions and work.
We have that coming up in a couple of weeks as well, that topic, different learning and work styles.
Okay. Yeah. So did you want to give a quick summary here then?
Yeah, like I said, using what you already have. Actually, I'm sorry, I'm not summarising, but again, we've got our internal audit tomorrow. And I've been preparing that because Exemplar Global have changed their criteria. I'm not rewriting the whole internal audit plan and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to lie, I'm being a bit cheeky and using the tools that we used last year and adapting the criteria in those templates and making note, cross-reference, this was that, starting from scratch. Because again, we've got the evidence there from previous years that we have or have not met those criteria and the evidence that we had. So just taking a quick note of there, using those existing resources, processes, tools, and look, when you do use them, make sure that they are connected, they are clear, they are communicated. There's nothing wrong with the team using the external spreadsheets as long as we know where to find them, how to use them across the board. So again, document, communicate, and share them.
Yeah. So if they are a tool that we can use, and it's not a duplicate of work, of course, because we need it to be streamlined, we can consider it and embed it in our processes.
Yeah.
So that,
because if there's a need for that, if somebody feels that they need to create that, then gap in the system, the process, or the functionality isn't working as intended.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I said, it sort of leads into that getting people involved. We can't just rule, from the top and go, this is how you're doing it. It can't change.
Well, you could, but your business would be.
Yeah, that's right. You
don't want to say the word, really.
Yeah. People wouldn't like working with you, would they?
No, you wouldn't last long.
No. And you know what? Funny this, but I actually often find that when you do get people involved that are actually doing the job, they come up with a better way of doing it anyway.
Perfect example. Last week I had, we do a 30-day plan with our team, which is a focus on the individual. It's not about the job. It's not about ATOL. It's about them, their goals, blah, 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 their struggles. One of the things we discussed is their hurdles and their roadblocks for the month gone, so we can prepare and plan for the month ahead. 2 team members last month had issues that they raised. This is a hurdle. This is taking me a lot longer than need be. I've actually done this whole process now a couple of times, and I found that this was just a duplication of this, and I really struggled with this, but this was really empowering. I was able to do it so much quicker. I could see the bigger picture. Do we need that whole first step? No, no, we don't. But again, that was a hangover from mine and Jackie's experience previously with previous team members. So we burdened, for lack of a better word, our current team with our experiences of other people. Yeah. But these two team members said, this doesn't work. It's taking up so much time. Or can we make this change? Made the change. We're testing that now. Test and learn. Test and learn. But again, the other one was the opposite way. We've gone from that micro stage to I actually can't see everything, and that's that's restricting me. I need to be free to look at longer, have a bigger vision. So we've really jumped ahead into that.
No, but they're really good examples of understanding, how different people work and how important it is to understand or get their input into how they work and the best way for them to work. Yeah.
And the benefit to the team, they have so much, well, hopefully we'll have so much more time. There'll be so much more, I don't want to say relaxed. They'll be able to enjoy their job. They're not stressed, tense, deadlines. Oh my God, I don't know this. Oh, this is, I can get ahead. I'm not working reactively, which is really important to us. We want our team to be able to be proactive and enjoy their job and have those opportunities to improve and find business improvements and grow.
And they're not checking boxes just for the sake of checking boxes.
If you find that your team is checking boxes for the sake of checking boxes, then do the boxes need to be checked, or is the output as you're intending?
Yeah. Does the output demonstrate it? Yeah. And sometimes it's a duplication as well. I see either duplications in management systems, or I don't know what the right word. In one procedure, it says you do it this way, but the other, it says you do it that way. It's like, well, which way?
That is a big frustration for me. And what are we, 7 months into the year, 7 months with a new team, and I'm still finding duplicates, triplicates, etc., as I'm training new team members from 1, 2, 3 years ago. So for us, again, that connectivity, we're being very conscious of, well, I've done that procedure somewhere else. Let me link this procedure to that procedure so that we don't have this duplication, triplication. This team does it this way, this team does it that way. We talked about that with silos as well. But the other thing is, in that same space, don't recreate the wheel. If you're using a platform that has a procedure or a knowledge base that exists already, don't rewrite their procedures. They're going to be wonderful to you and upgrade their system and improve their system. And then your management system processes and procedures are out of date. Use theirs. Be cheeky. We have that for HubSpot. We have it for Asana. We have it for can't think of the other one now.
Because they normally do have embedded processes. So use
their knowledge base of how to use their system, and then maybe say, look, at this stage we actually do this instead.
That's right.
Yeah, replace this step with this.
Yeah.
But don't recreate the wheel.
No, because you're right. You're just rewriting what's already accessible.
And if they're like any of the platforms that we use that have a serious continual improvement mindset, I can guarantee you that it's going to be redundant within 48 hours.
Yeah. So that link at least will stay active with the most current. Yeah, that's a really good point. And that sort of leads to number 4, which is using agile tools.
Well,
you're great with segues. What is it? ISO segue?
Oh gosh, that's not even. That doesn't even make sense. That one. Got images of people with their helmets on, sightseeing.
But I suppose it does demonstrate that even though I've come up with these 5 steps, as we're talking about it, one is leading to the other. And so it does show how, I don't know, integrated this can be. So, you know, it's not about, well, you mentioned silos before, just doing this, just doing that. It all works together.
It's quite organic.
So yes, I love that word, free range. So using agile tools, and you have mentioned a few already, the tools we use like HubSpot, Asana. You mentioned about our internal audit tomorrow that you and I are conducting, and we use a tool, Auditor, and you were saying how you were updating it. You weren't recreating the wheel, you were, I'm stopping, can you hear the sanding?
No, we can't. Continue. Okay. It's worse when you're on the receiving end. Yeah.
I know. So you were talking about Auditor, yeah, and how Exemplar Global have updated the performance criteria requirements. And you mentioned something about, well, I'm just using what we already had and just updating it. Like, that's demonstrating an agile tool, isn't it? You don't have to start from the beginning. No. It's like, oh, okay, this has changed. Let's just update it. So pick the tools that are agile and able to be used. I actually just thought of OneNote. Remember, Kelly, and you'll remember this because you're been here pre-OneNote. Remember our procedures? We used to have them all, say, in Word documents, or if they were registers in Excel, and we used to have them all saved in Dropbox. And then when we had to try and find a procedure, what a nightmare that was.
Oh, or if somebody didn't close their procedure and we had 25 conflicting copies of it because their computer did something crazy, and which is the correct procedure.
Yes, and multiple people updating it. And so when we moved to OneNote, it's so easy to search. Like, it has its own challenges, but now it's all there and you can link it. You can, you know, we've got all of the associated procedures as a sub-page. It's a tool that's made our internal procedures so much easier. 1, to write, 2, to manage and update, and 3, to find stuff.
To share it too. Copy, paste, use the link.
Yes.
This is the procedure you're looking for.
Yes. And I think the big thing is being able to update it so easily.
Ownership. And watching. I could be sitting in there changing it. You're in the same thing, watching. It's real time.
Yeah. And you've got that traceability as well as to who's updated it.
When it was updated.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it is all about the tools you choose to use. And again, it's about keeping it simple, because our old method was just not simple. It was frustrating and it was hard, which sort of goes back to this topic. So that's where these agile tools support what you do when you build your system, which leads to the last bit, which we sort of already have touched on. It's about being open to change. So anything Kelly and I have talked about, it certainly has not ever been the first idea or tool or system or what that was put in place.
And it won't be the last.
It never is. It always changes. So I see this quite often. People get so hung up on getting it right the first time, within their system. It's never going to be right. You need to be open to change, and you just need to get it out there. You don't really know how it's going to work until you start using it. And the only way to figure that out is start using it.
Yeah. And another great example, we encourage our team to own their systems, their processes for their task. Well, we don't leave them on their own to, you figure it out, you deal with it. You own that process, so you can change, adapt, etc., to make it work for you, as long as it also can be followed, adapted, used by somebody else. And we've had that challenge with a number of our team, because really sadly, all but one of our team, our current team, have come from previous employers who were not open to change, who did not give them that autonomy, that authority to make those changes. They could say, yeah, I think this, nah, yeah, I'll get back to you, rather than go for it, do it. If you need to do that, do that. So when we said to people, write that procedure, create the procedure for that, document that procedure, pop it in OneNote, 3 of them went off and created Word documents or notepad documents or anything, and they kept it there or had it written on their desk. I'm not ready to put it in OneNote yet. I'm not ready to put it in OneNote yet. I haven't tested it. I don't know if it works. I'm not comfortable with it. That's fine. I'm not comfortable with half of the things I've written in OneNote either. Some of them are as recent as yesterday, some of them months ago. But by putting it in there in whatever format it is, and I should highlight that the formats that I have seen after these conversations of their crappy copies are actually really impressive. But putting it in there allowed other people to look at it and test it. That's the best way to get that input. Let other people see it and go, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, hang on, what do I do here? People always send me a message. I'm doing this procedure, but I'm not sure about this. Okay, there's a gap. Let's fix it. So as Jackie said, get it out there. The first version is going to be less than ideal in your eyes, but it might be perfectly fine for everybody else, and it will grow and it will evolve and systems will change and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, it will get it going. I actually always put like a status, like if I'm working on a procedure, I might put in progress or something
to
like
be
that.
updated,
Yeah,
in review, all those sorts of things.
Yeah, like you can use it or test it, but just to give it some sort of status. So again, that's just communication.
And look, again, something that in hindsight probably hasn't been very well communicated to our current team, because again, Jackie and I just do it naturally, is our OneNote, we have color-coded pages. If it's red, like dark red, don't touch it. It's superseded. It's out of date, but we need to keep it for some reason. It'll probably be an audit, compliance or something. If it's orange, it's in progress, needs testing. It's still a little bit, look, and it's not this kind of orange. It's a very much more subtle orange. If it's green or white, if it's green or white, go for it. This has been tested, it's been tried out, etc. So yeah, simple little codes like that. Again, to those of our team members watching and listening, hot tip: we have a color code.
There's your training.
I'll make a note to share that a bit more effectively with the team after. But simple little subtle subliminal things like that can make a big difference.
Absolutely.
Because it's always going to change.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's a big thing, is just be open to change. It's okay. Don't attach yourself to getting it right, because it won't be right. And it's okay. That's something I let clients know, even in an opening meeting, like, you may get minor non-conformances. You don't want major, but you may get non-conformances, but that's okay, because it's an opportunity to improve. That it's a positive thing. So it doesn't have to be right, and it will never be right.
Never be right.
Yeah, be okay with that. I think that's the biggest message.
Yeah. And look, it might be right for you, but it won't be right for someone else. And it might be right for someone else, and it won't be right for you. It's like there's the perfect person for everybody. My perfect person may not be yours, and vice versa.
Absolutely. And that, I suppose, that loops around to using agile tools, getting people involved and using what you already have through that gap analysis. So it pulls all of those 5 areas in. So that was my recap then. because once again, Kelly, you had a fantastic segue and included all of them. But my final word is don't get hung up on being right.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. That's your final word. I feel like our children have just listened to that and go, don't get hung up on being right. Don't get ideas, boys. Don't get ideas. Excellent. Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. I'm going to, now that you have declared to the world that you're not always right, neither am I. I'm going to open up the floor
Absolutely not.
to the ATOL community with any questions. So for those of you who are joining us live, remember you can drop your questions here in the chat if you're in our Zoom room, or if you are watching on socials, you can leave some comments. Melissa will share those with me. But I do have a couple of questions here that have come through. The first one, Jackie, I'm just going to have a pick because there are a couple here. Oh, here we go. This one relates to the third topic. What are some effective ways, and I feel like we've touched on this, what are some effective ways to get team members involved in developing the ISO management system? And how do you handle resistance from team members reluctant to participate?
I think I've got a whole newsletter written about that. I seem to get all of my ideas mixed up, and I'm pretty sure I have. I will check.
If not, you do now.
Exactly right, because it is a delicate balance. You cannot force it down their throat. They will not come along for the ride if you force it. I always, I suppose, follow the concept is that we need to pull them along for the ride, not push them. So we need to, you might have to do, if you're a quality manager, for example, and you're establishing a system, you might have to do some things that may not end up being your job in the end. So, for example, maybe going around and looking at all the equipment and ensuring they're all calibrated and tagged as such and create a register. That might be someone else's job, say, on the workshop floor eventually. But if they're not coming along for the ride, you need to demonstrate some little wins along the way. And as you start to demonstrate little wins along the way, it starts to pique their interest and they go, oh, okay. And then if you ask, something I use as an auditor, it's more about, look, it's not a job assessment. I really need your help. I do. I really need your
what
help.
you do. I want to see what excites me.
Yeah. Can you help me to understand? And then also, when you do get resistance, if you have asked them to do something or help or, complete a document, provide some feedback, and they do not, become a 4-year-old and ask why. And, and why again, 5 whys. Because if they say they're too busy, which is probably normally the first excuse they use, and it could be a reason as well. So why are you too busy? Is there any way, do you have any suggestions on how to make this simple enough for you to contribute? So again, it's don't force it down their throat. Don't push it. We've got to pull them gently. And I know it can be frustrating and it does take time, but they're just a few little, tools I use, personal behaviors, I guess, to pull them along for the ride. And when they start seeing the little wins, they start going, what happened there? And you can see their interest is changing.
I'm having a little chuckle to myself around the question asking. John and I are currently watching True Detective, season 4, and Jodie, it's great. Jodie Foster plays the chief of police in in a little town in the Arctic. And she's got a young, they call him freshman. He's a very, very young police officer. And she will say, ask the question. No, wrong question. Try again. And in my head now, I've got Jodie Foster going, no, that's the wrong question. Ask again. Ask again. Yeah. And I'm terrified that this is the third time I've seen auditing and questioning in outside of my life in the last few days. But yeah, again, they ask the questions, be curious, get involved in that.
Absolutely.
Which leads to the last question that I have today. And I love this one. What role does feedback play in the continual improvement process? Love this question. It
is everything. It's that continual loop. It's that, it's every element we've actually touched on includes feedback. Gap analysis gives us feedback on where the gaps are, what we've already got, so we can improve. Use what you already have that's embedded in that gap analysis. So that's feedback on your own system. And as we said, that's a foundation. Oh my goodness, getting people involved. And even that example I just mentioned, what's your idea on how we can make this so that you do have the time to contribute? So
include customer and stakeholder feedback in that space as well. So we talked earlier about your team, but feedback in that space can come from external parties as well. Like we do it in our course, every single module. Tell me what's wrong, what's right, what can be better.
Absolutely. And that gives us that continual improvement loop and cycle. And being open to change, as we said, not getting hung up on having it absolutely perfect. And I think, Kelly, you do this really well and you show no shame. Like you very openly ask for feedback. You're not scared of asking our students when you have them. When you have them on a Zoom, I know straight away you're going to ask them and you're not scared.
Yeah, I'm very open about we are passionate about continual improvement. We don't just talk it, we live it. And look, that's something even in a professional space when it's not about me as an individual, that doesn't come naturally. It didn't for me for a very, very, very long time. And then just sort of at some point you go, actually, you can't do anything without feedback. You can't grow, you can't adapt, you can't get better, you can't understand what's not right, everything becomes quite, just ask for feedback.
Yeah. And I think that goes in.
Be careful about giving it though.
Oh, who's talking, you or me? What were you saying?
I'll take that feedback on board.
What were you saying?
But also be careful about giving feedback. For that same reason, like not everyone's comfortable with feedback. There are times where I don't want feedback. But don't give unsolicited personal opinions. Give it make sure, look, do you mind if I share something with you? Or I've got an idea. Or be very careful about how you do it, because some people are not comfortable in that space.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right there, because that is about like asking for permission to provide the feedback, like when it hasn't been asked of you. So always get permission first. Can I say something? Can I provide some feedback? But it goes along the lines of not getting attached as well. You know how we said don't get hung up on being right. If you're attached to it and you want to be right, you're not open to that feedback and change, and you take it personally. And I know I've been in that situation. You take it personally. So, but it's probably more so, as you touched on, when it wasn't asked for and how it was delivered. So,
actually, looking back on that, I actually think I've just pinpointed, I did a graphic design degree nearly 10 years ago now. There's a lot of unsolicited varied opinions about people's work in a design space. What I think looks great, Jackie thinks looks awful. Jackie doesn't know anything about design.
No,
but
I don't
know anything about it. But for me, that was probably my learning experience. Was this isn't about me. This is about that person's experience. Because art and design is subjective. So what I was very conscious about in providing feedback to the team as I've handed over the design roles and marketing roles to other people is less about my thoughts about, oh, I don't like that picture, or I don't like that color, or this. It's more about sharing the fundamentals or the design things, or giving them experience or exposing them to those foundational rules. Exactly. And Angus is a great example where somebody who was
He's our video editor.
Yeah, sorry, Angus is our amazing video editor. Hi, Angus. Hope you're watching. You will be.
Don't edit this out. No.
Yeah, don't edit this out. This is your performance review. He was being given. Angus is studying film technology, something along those lines as well at uni. So he's studying. He is the expert at ATOL on all of those things.
Yes.
So for Angus, we need to trust his experience, his skills, his technology. But he had people without experience giving him feedback. I don't like this. Change this. This is the different. Well, make this big. I'll tell you what. The stuff Angus produces when Angus is let to do Angus's thing is phenomenal. But when he's given feedback from somebody who doesn't have the skills, experience, training in that area, and is just sharing their opinion, is a very different thing.
Yes.
So yeah, make sure if you are providing that feedback, you have experience, background, or some sort of involvement in that is tangible. I think that makes all the difference. For the reasons you just said, you don't feel comfortable when someone tells you something when they don't know it. I'm not telling you how to go and do your certification audits.
No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. And something Jane Anderson talks about a lot. Jane Anderson is my business coach, and she actually says not all customer feedback is relevant because they're not the experts. And when she first said that, I thought, oh my goodness, did she say that out loud? I need to process that. But your example, is so true. Not everyone has the qualifications or the competencies to give feedback. You need to make sure you get the feedback from people that know.
Smile and nod, take it on board, and then walk away and go, turn off your microphone.
No, that's a great addition, to sign off with, Kelly, I think.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Not a problem. So as Jackie said, I am going to sign off from here. So thank you, Jackie, for that. Next week, episode 10, we are looking at, oh, jeepers, this is an interesting one. Overwhelmed by ISO 9001. Look, let's just say overwhelmed by ISO because not everyone's a quality nerd like Jackie. Discover the path to simplicity and success. I feel like there's a connection there as well to this week. So again, if you are overwhelmed by ISO, come and join us next week as we discuss the path to simplicity and success. So thank you, Jackie. Thank you, everyone who is in the Zoom room with us and those of you watching us on Facebook. We shall see you next week.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks for joining us once again as we lead the standard. Make sure to subscribe to our podcast for more episodes just like this. And don't forget to leave a review if you found today's episode informative and inspiring. If you're already an ATOL student, remember participating in live Q&A sessions just like this is one of the exclusive perks of your enrolment. And if you're not already a student, join us at our website www.auditortrainingonline.com to learn more about our courses and how you can start making a difference in your career in ISO management system standards. So join us again next week as we not just meet the standards, but we lead them.